Hey guys, it's Grand Admiral Thrawn, and this year I'm ranking Bob's Burgers Halloween episodes. Last year I did Thanksgiving episodes, and I also made the mistake of saying I hope that this year we have a good Thanksgiving episode. And of course, it's the one year that we have a bad Bob's Burgers Thanksgiving episode, because instead of making it about Thanksgiving, it's about golf. You heard me right. For a Thanksgiving episode, they made it about golf. Why couldn't they have just given a separate episode to them golfing and then a different episode to Thanksgiving? Also, Teddy's not even in that episode, which should be a reason enough for you to hate the episode. Anyway, this year we're ranking I am ranking the Halloween episodes of Bob's Burgers. And unlike Thanksgiving, I like all of this holiday's episodes. There are a total of 11 episodes, and we're going to start the video right now. In 11th place, I have Season 13, Episode 6. Now, this may be the newest episode, but that doesn't mean it's bad or that Bob's Burgers is losing its quality. Now, this episode is good in that it has Louise going on a field trip to a barn. Meanwhile, Tina and Jean, their costumes are falling apart at school, so Linda has to keep going back and forth to fix something that fell off. But we're mainly going to be talking about the Louise storyline here. Bob is also on the field trip as kind of a chaperone. And it's just a really good episode in that they start to think that the barn is full of a bunch of, murderers who are going to be sacrificing them. And then, it's a good episode. It gets pretty freaky at points. And one other thing that I really have to talk about with this episode is Louise's friend Jessica in this episode has never been in any episode before this one and has yet to have been in another episode since then. I think she's actually a good character. It's just pretty weird that they would bring in a character for one episode and then never bring them back for another episode since then. I don't know. Anyway, good episode. Just because it's in last doesn't mean I don't like it. Anyway, in number 10, we have Season 10, Episode 4. This episode revolves around Tina being haunted by that of a demon pig. You heard me right. It revolves around Tina being haunted by a demon pig. And this one may not be entirely about Halloween, but it feels like it's about Halloween. Like, it takes place during Halloween, and it revolves around Tina wanting to go on this haunted hayride that all the other kids in her school are going on. In order to get invited though, she made fun of her pig that they were dissecting in biology. And then the pig is haunting her in her dreams, and it's a good episode. I think it's pretty good. The only real Halloween costumes I can think of that are unique in this one are Jean is as applesauce. Yeah, this one kind of lacks in the Halloween costumes, which is something that Bob's Burgers is very creative with. Anyway, I think this one is funny at moments and is just pretty good. Alright, number 9, Season 5, Episode 2. I know a lot of people like this one. I'm not saying I don't. I really do. I just happen to like most of the other episodes more. Anyway, this one revolves around Tina and her dating a ghost. You heard me right? But what I did not state is his name is Jeff the ghost, and he lives in a shoebox. Yeah, this one is pretty good. Tina is going on dates with a ghost, even though it's just a shoebox. And then Tammy, being the attention hog she is, can't stand it, so she takes the box and makes it seem that Jeff doesn't want to be with Tina anymore. And I love the ending of this episode when Tina gets revenge on Tammy and tricks her. And then I also like how it turns out Tina always kind of knew that Jeff wasn't real, but she just liked having someone there with her. Anyway, so number 9, Season 5, Episode 2. I know a lot of people like this one. I also like it, just not as much. Number 8, Season 6, Episode 5. How did I forget this one? This one is literally the thumbnail to this video, and I have to do 2 filmings of this video, all because I forgot to even include this one. And this one's probably the scariest episode on this list. I'm not kidding, they actually made the episode kind of scary. Like, on your first watching, this could be a pretty scary episode for you. And I think it's a really good episode in that Louise has never once been scared, so they throw a haunted house for her, and it fails because, well, she's never been scared, and it's going to take a lot more than Bob and Linda's haunted house to scare her. And at the very end of the episode, she is scared, and it's a pretty good episode. It's got plenty of funny moments in it. It doesn't actually have many creative Halloween costumes in it, which is something that I really like on this show, but it's still a very good episode, and I even chose this one for the thumbnail. Number 7, Season 11. Hey, that rhymed. Anyway, Season 11, Episode 4. This one revolves around the kids going to this lady's house to deliver food, and it turns out that every year she tries summoning the soul of her one boyfriend who left her at the building. And every year she tries to summon his spirit just so she can banish him to hell because he left her alone. And I really like this episode. I like the message behind it in that you can't hold on to revenge, and that it turns out that he was actually innocent the whole time. I like the episode. It's pretty good. And then the B plot of this episode revolves around Bob giving blood, and he is terrified of blood. But he is O negative, the universal donor, so Teddy and Linda convince him. He's not very willingly, but he goes along anyway to give blood, and it's just a very good episode. It's funny, it's got a good story, and it made 7th on my list. Number 6, the only episode I'm going to be telling the title of, Season 4, Episode 2, Fortnite. Now this one is actually a really funny episode. Not only that though, it introduces a great character from the show of Bob's Burgers, Millie. Now, Millie is kind of insane and is Louise's rival, although she doesn't consider her Louise's rival. She's more of obsessed with Louise and thinks of herself as her best friend. And she gets them trapped in a fort on Halloween night, and they're trapped in there and they can't get out. Meanwhile, Bob, Linda, Teddy, and Mort are fixing up a dragon costume, and there's a hilarious scene where Bob has to argue with Harold and Edith about buying art supplies for it, just for the art supplies to break on the road, and then he has to gather up the pieces, and it's just so funny. This is a great Halloween episode for the show. Like I said earlier, this one, I kind of feel like I'm repeating this, but this one also doesn't really do too much with the creative costumes, but it has a great A plot and a great B plot. Number 5, we're finally making it to the top 5 on this list. Season 12, Episode 3. Now this one is about something from Gail and Linda's past of when they accidentally destroyed all the pumpkins at a pumpkin carving contest in their high school. And they have to go back to their town and figure out who sent them these letters to, they say, pumpkin smashers. And this one is hilarious because it's got both Linda and Gail's one of the funniest characters on the show. And not only that, this one has a great B plot of that Bob is always, in every season before this one, they show that he never buys the good candy for kids. He always buys something that they hate. And so they're like a don't go there restaurant. And then he buys good candy, and he's sick of how everyone keeps showing up. Kids are taking 3, it's just madness, and he can't take it anymore. So at the end of the episode, he goes, "That's it, we're staying as a don't go there place. I am never buying good candy again." And this one's just such a funny episode, and it has a good twist at the end about Gail's life coach, Dane Kang. Alright, number 4, Season 8, Episode 3. The episode that has my personal favorite of the creative costumes, when Linda went as a sheriff. Now, this episode revolves around wolves in both the A plot and the B plot. The A plot, although it's kind of hard to even know which one is the A plot because I feel they're both given an equal amount of screen time, is about Linda taking the kids trick-or-treating, except there's a wolf loose, so nobody thinks anybody's actually gonna be trick-or-treating on this night, so that's no fun for them, and they don't get any candy. So instead, to keep it fun, Linda decides, why don't we go looking for the wolf? So while they're doing that, Bob injured his leg, so he's at home, and Teddy is taking care of him, but Bob starts to suspect Teddy is a werewolf because he's hearing howling noises, Teddy's scratching a bite mark on his arm, and it just gets to a very funny point in that it turns out Bob was just high on his pain meds, and that Teddy's just completely normal and it was just a bite on his arm. And this one's got a lot of funny moments and good twists in that it's actually the fish odor's fault for the wolf, and it's just a good episode. Number 3. One of my favorite episodes, to the point that I actually carved my jack-o'-lantern in Bob's face. Not the burger lantern like he made, but of him. Which, speaking of which... Anyway, this one I think has the best B plot out of them all, in that I think the B plot is honestly better than the A plot with this episode. The B plot, which we'll be talking about the most in this episode, revolves around Bob is making jack-o'-lanterns as burgers, and every time he leaves it out, somebody steals it, and it's driving him crazy. Meanwhile, as the A plot, Tina is becoming a witch, and she's making spells, and they're actually coming true, except then she messes with someone who also is a witch, and she's terrified of what's going to happen to her because she's cursed, but she doesn't know how she's cursed. Also, this one has a funny moment in that Tammy stole Tina's original costume idea, so I like when Tina accidentally falls on Tammy. And yeah, this one's just a very funny episode. It's got one of my personal favorite lines in the entire show from Gene, of all characters, in that Bob is running through the room real quick to get back to his pumpkin, and Gene goes, that's the fastest I've ever seen Dad run when it wasn't bathroom related. One of my favorite lines in the entire show, and I'm not even going to spoil the twist ending of this episode because it's just such a great twist, and I think you should watch it for yourself if you haven't seen it. Yeah, my third favorite episode, but the episode, in my opinion, with the best B plot. Number 2, Season 9, Episode 4. Now, this episode revolves around the kids trick-or-treating, and someone is stealing their candy. Seriously, though, that's the most messed up thing you could do. Anyway, someone is stealing their candy, and they're trying to keep their candy that they still have safe and get more candy. Meanwhile, Teddy is putting up decorations at the restaurant because his rival handyman is decorating the store next door. And I love the fact in how a later episode they acknowledge that that store has gone out of business more times than any other store has in existence because they always change it to something different in each episode with a different pun. And yeah, I just think that was such a great idea that they make it canon that happens. Not in this episode, but in a different episode. Anyway, like I stated, Linda as Sheriff is definitely my favorite of the Halloween costumes, but the None of Your Business is a close second. Honestly, it could arguably be my favorite, but I'm pretty sure my favorite is the Sheriff. I also like the twist ending of this episode in that it's Dr. Yap, their dentist, who is a very funny character because he's played by Ken Jeong, a very funny actor. And this one is just a very funny episode. It's got great creative costumes like Andre the Giant 3000, Louise as the dragon with the girl tattoo. It's just got creative costumes, like I stated earlier, the None of Your Business. And I just think this one is one of the funniest episodes, However, it's not the funniest Halloween episode. That falls under Season 3, Episode 2, the very first Bob's Burgers Halloween special. Now, this one is not just the funniest, it's also the one with the best story in my mind, where it's about the kids going to a different town to get candy because their town sucks at trick-or-treating. So when they go to this town, they have full-sized candy bars, and they just get some of the best candy they've ever gotten, and it's just so great. But however, it turns out that the teenagers of this town do what they call Hell Hunt, which is where at night, if there are any kids still out, they grab them and they just torture them by throwing eggs at them. They'll throw water balloons filled with pee. Like, they even state at one point that one kid got shaved and they covered him in maple syrup, all that. And so the kids help the other kids that were taken by the Hell Hunters. And then they all revolt against the Hell Hunters, and it's one of the best stories in the show. However, this one also has an amazing B-plot of a murder mystery where someone murdered Teddy's pet, Francis, the guinea pig. Teddy's pet guinea pig, Francis, is murdered, and he's going nuts. And this one has my favorite Teddy line. A bunch of people think it's the, "Don't feed a guy a sponge, Bobby." However, my favorite is when he yells at Linda, "Yeah, they were, Linda. They were good chips." That's my favorite Teddy line. Anyway, this is Grand Admiral Thrawn signing off, and this was my ranking of Bob's Burgers Halloween episodes. If you feel confident enough, rank all 11 of these episodes down in the comments. I know better than to jinx this year by making us have a bad Halloween one, so I'm just going to stop there. And I wish you all a happy Halloween. This is Grand Admiral Thrawn signing off.